For once I come in here and something smells good.
It's Beverly Rose's first day of kindergarten. I wanted to do something special, so I'm making her Captain Crunch pancakes with whipped cream and strawberries on top.
Good idea. Get her jacked up on sugar here, then hand her off to her teacher.
Where's the pack of frozen strawberries?
Oh, I was using it as a cold pack in bed for my sore shoulder.
If you need a cold pack, use the frozen broccoli. That's the only reason we buy it.
I don't like having broccoli that close to my mouth, but okay.
So the big day is finally here. I have a little present for Beverly Rose.
Oh my gosh, you're giving her a pencil case.
Yeah, it's my old one. See, it says trust no one. Wow, you looking to hit on the teacher? Because that car wash perfume says buy me a sandwich and I'm yours.
No, I just want to make a good impression on him. And if he's rich and single and only teaching to ease his guilt about the money, that's a bonus.
Okay, so you're sucking up. You know that sends a message to your kid, right?
There is nothing wrong with trying to be the teacher's pet. You got to work the system to succeed.
Is that why you always dressed like your teacher when you were a kid?
First of all, I look great in knit separates. And it worked. She loved me so much, I doubled my wardrobe after her husband left her, and her new love became pie.
When's Beverly Rose coming up? I'm here to document the big day.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. I want her to have good memories of her first day of school. My mom said I was too plain to like, so she told me to put on a skirt, climb up to the top of the jungle gym, and that way at least I'd be popular with the boys on the bottom. But it didn't work, so she made sure I had a wad of dollar bills I could pass out so the boys would talk to me.
So it's like the opposite of being a stripper. You showed them your underwear and gave them money.
You are correct.
I'm putting a note in Beverly Rose's lunch.
Aw.
I made a sandwich in the shape of a heart. Tell me if this is too much. When you eat this, my heart will be in your tummy all day.
You know, I knew this would be a really emotional morning for you. So I cleared my schedule so I can ride with you to school for support.
You're just trying to co-opt my moment. I'm prepared for today. Oh my God, you're really going? I'm not gonna see you till noon.
I knew this would happen.
So, yeah, just off the top of my head, you want to ride?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Ah! Ah! Ah!
You know, they sell ketchup in stores. You don't have to make your own.
Don't make fun of the guy holding the skillet. I'm almost old enough to kill you and not care about doing the time.
But you'd have to kill me with your left hand, which I don't think you can do. So I see your bursitis is still acting up.
It'll be fine.
Fine. A tomato just beat you in a fight, old man. You know, I might be able to help you out there. I've had some training in Reiki, and they say that I have healing powers.
You're not gonna touch me, are you?
No. My hands will just hover over the area where it hurts, and then I'll use my energy to remove the blockage, and so the healing can take place naturally.
Okay, but no touching.
No, you just close your eyes and try and relax. All right. Now, my hands are just applying the vibration. Okay. So. Wow. Whoa. go. Anything?
No.
No? Allow it in, Dan.
Allowing it, Jackie!
Skepticism is the barrier to health. All right. So I'm just gonna have to extend the frequency of my energy and dig a little deeper.
You're not gonna touch me, though,
No,
right?
you big baby, I'm not gonna touch you.
Hey, guys.
Touch me!
What are you freaks doing?
Your grandfather is suffering from severe bursitis in his shoulder, and I'm just trying to heal him.
I don't know why you boomers are waving your hands around when you could just smoke some weed. I mean, I do it every morning to loosen up before I exercise. Then I don't end up exercising and I just watch TikToks of people falling down, but I still feel great.
He doesn't need more drugs. No, his old veins, they can barely transport the blood.
Knock it off with the old guy stuff. I used to smoke weed in high school when I hurt myself playing football. Kind of forgot about it because I used to smoke weed in high school when I hurt myself playing football.
Yeah, that was then. Now, you drink like a fish, you eat like crap. You don't need to throw any more trash onto that landfill you call a body.
Well, the weed today isn't trash. You could walk into a dispensary and get carefully cultivated stuff. Might help your pain, Grandpa.
We're going to the weed store.
Okay, yeah, I'm going with you, because you're going to need somebody from the streets who can speak the lingo.
Well, that'd be nice, but I think Snoop Dogg's busy making cupcakes with Martha Stewart.
I was talking about me. You haven't even taken a toke of the jazz cabbage. Can't follow a simple conversation.
Okay, littles, now what is this shape?
Triangle.
Thank you, Beverly Rose. And this is a...
Rectangle.
She's kind of a chip off the old block. Don't let the spaghetti stains fool you. Honor Society, 3 years running, massive underachiever.
And I really hope we can hear from some of the other kids tomorrow. Cleanup time. Beverly Rose's mom, can I speak to you for a second?
I know what you're gonna say. Beverly Rose does seem to be mopping the floor with these kids, but it's not a contest.
She's clearly very bright
I know.
and vocal. Maybe too vocal.
I'm sorry?
This is supposed to be a time for the littles to not only learn, but to gain some self-esteem. But Beverly Rose isn't giving any of the other kids a chance.
She only feels free to talk because you have created such a safe environment, and that is a testament to your teaching. Knock, knock. Who's there? Teacher of the Year.
Unfortunately, I've had to move Beverly Rose's clothespin from green to yellow. Whether or not they turn it around is all about the parent.
Oh. Wow, okay. Well, you are looking at a parent who is great at turning things around. By the way, love the knit separates. I am so proud of you for having such a good first day of school.
I answered all the questions.
Yes, you did, and that's what we're going to talk about. Even if you know all the answers, it might be nice to give the other kids a chance.
But it takes so long for them to answer. And then they do it wrong.
Well, it's okay to be wrong. They can't help it if they're not as smart as you.
That's what I told them so they wouldn't feel bad.
If you don't let the other kids answer, your clothespin is going to stay on yellow, and we don't want that. You are a green clothespin daughter, and I am a green clothespin mommy.
Okay.
Okay, I got to get back to the lunchbox.
Which is evidently what a green clothespin gets you in life.
I have boobs and blonde hair, and that just kills you.
Did you ever get a yellow clothespin?
Well, I passed through yellow on my way to permanent red. Does it bother you that you got a yellow clothespin?
I guess so.
But,
I like knowing all the answers.
well, then you keep answering. And if somebody tells you to stop, you do it louder. Look, I love your mom like a sister, but the clothespin thing is just a scam. I mean, you don't feel like you did anything wrong, do you?
No, but when I say too many answers, I don't get to go to the prize bucket.
Well, the prize is knowing that you rock and those other kids are losers. Now, speaking of losers, you want to sit in on a meeting of a bunch of really pathetic green clothespin people? Oh, I wasn't muted.
Whoa, look at all this. Like Seth Rogen and Willy Wonka had a baby.
Kind of sad. It's so corporate. There was something sweet about buying drugs in the park.
Can I help you?
Easy, Slick. He may look like a decrepit old fool, but he's got me with him, 'cause he is.
I just need something for pain.
The pain of living in an unjust world where the planet's burning up and we're losing our rights to fascist rule, or like a hurt foot?
The foot one, but it's in my shoulder. I used to smoke a little in high school.
Oh, yeah, we both did. A couple of hopheads, yeah. And I tell you, we didn't get our grass from some doobie warehouse like you softies. We had to go to the other side of the tracks to see the doo-dah man.
I tried a lot of stuff with CBD, and it just doesn't seem to be helping.
You're a pretty big guy. I think you could handle some strong flower. This is Nightmare. It's very high in THC. Or there's this one. It's called Brain Bleed. It's strong, but you could play tennis on it.
I just need something where I can't feel my shoulder.
This one's called I Can't Feel My Face. Probably work on the shoulder. You want gummies or flour?
Candy.
Okay, it'll be $40.
Holy crap, $40.
Don't you have a barrel where he can just bag a couple of loose ones?
Sorry, man, this isn't taffy and this isn't Coney Island in the 30s.
Listen, Harry Pothead. I've destroyed more opportunities with drugs than you'll ever hope to.
Oh, dude, you gotta be high.
Beverly Rose, go downstairs and wash your hands and I'll make you a snack, okay? We need to talk.
All right, fine, hang on. I'm at work. I agree with what Anne said. Go.
When I picked up Beverly Rose, her teacher said that she was twice as aggressive as she was yesterday.
Aggressive or assertive? Because there's a big difference.
Before, she was just answering all the questions. Now she's actively calling out the kids for being dumb. And when her teacher threatened to give her a red clothespin, she said it was a scam.
Well, that is very perceptive for a 5-year-old, and you should be proud.
You told her that.
She asked me if I ever got a yellow clothespin, and she asked me because she didn't understand why she was in trouble for being smart. All I told her was to be herself.
It was none of your business. You should have stayed out of it.
Well, Beverly Rose shouldn't have to hide her light. You want her playing stupid all her life just so people like her?
It's not playing stupid, it's being strategic. Angry little ball busters who alienate everybody don't get rewarded in school, Darlene.
They made me crossing guard, Becky.
Yeah, I'm the most dangerous street, the farthest away from the school. Don't you wonder why they never gave you the reflective vest?
They told me they ran out of them. Asking Beverly Rose not to answer is wrong, Becky.
No, it's not. She needs to learn how to get along with people in the real world.
Get along or know her place. I cannot believe you didn't defend her. You know, Mom had her problems, but she would have gone down there and ripped that teacher's head off.
Yeah, and then you're the kid with the crazy mom. How'd you like that?
Well, I wanted to crawl into a hole while she was doing it, but it made me feel protected and more confident, and that made me stronger. You have to think about what kind of person you're teaching Beverly Rose to become.
Yeah, you want her to be less like me and more like you, and that's the last thing I want.
Oh, really? You think it's better for her to be like you? You were so anxious to please that you gave up your education and your family so that you could move with Mark to Minnesota.
Wow, you have nothing else to say to me. Get out of my face. You know, maybe if you were easier to get along with, they wouldn't make you work at home. They don't make me, it's my option.
What's going on?
Nothing.
Okay, how many gummies did you take?
I don't know. I took one, then it didn't work, so I took a second one. Then the first one kicked in, and I got hungry, and I took the third one. Don't ever take the third one.
Okay. You're gonna sit down on the couch right here and everything's gonna be fine.
I can't walk.
Huh?
My feet are on the wrong feet.
You mean they're not your feet?
No, what's wrong with you? Of course, they're my feet. They're on the wrong legs. They don't want to walk together.
Okay, well, I can help you with that. I can just switch them back. So I go, they're all back. Okay? Now let's go. Lie down.
Oh, how long are we walking? For like an hour, right?
Yeah.
Oh, God, you guys got the edibles, huh?
Yeah.
Not candy, children. Get him some carbs.
Yeah.
Hey, let's put something on the TV for you, yeah? Something soothing and familiar.
Go back to the first one.
That's the screensaver.
Stay there. Don't tell me how it ends.
And which one of my littles knows what animal this is?
A dog.
Good try. Look at the picture, read the word. What does it say?
Dog.
Okay, everyone, good job. See you tomorrow.
Hey, sweetie, how was your day?
We've got a green clothespin now.
That's great.
I didn't talk all day, and the teacher said that was a good thing.
Wait, you didn't talk at all?
No, even when you knew all the answers, like you said. It was really hard, and now the teacher likes me, and I got a yo-yo from the prize bucket.
Well, there's a Pavlovian nightmare. Honey, wait for me in the hall, okay?
Oh, hi, Becky. All my littles got to talk today, and it was a much better day. Beverly Rose participated in a non-disruptive way.
What do you mean participated? She just sat there shut down all day.
Oh, no, she was a very lively listener and observer today. Good job, Mom.
Is that what we're raising here? Girls who are good little listeners and observers? You're also teaching her that if she shows how smart she is, she'll get punished. She's learning from you right now that she should be a woman who keeps quiet in the board meeting, even if the CEO is calling a cat a dog. And I'll tell you another thing. I don't give a damn whether you think I'm a good mom or not. My kid will decide that with her therapist in 20 years. But right now, she is going to answer whenever she wants, and you will deal with it.
Oh, my God. I just realized you're one of those Connors. I remember your mom coming into my third grade class and losing it on the teacher because your sister Darlene got a D on her diorama. And she said, how could she get a D on it when Becky got an A on it when she turned it in?
Oh, yeah, you're right. You just got Connored. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so buckle up, Buttercup.
Hey, how you feeling?
Well, pain's back. Maybe I gotta face the fact that at my age, pains just don't go away.
You really just didn't know that you're old?
You know, when I wake up in the morning, I'm still the same guy playing football in high school. Then when I try to get out of bed, there's a lot of rocking and screaming until I get the momentum to stand on my feet.
It's a shame because sounds like the weed worked for the pain. You could pick a strain that's not too strong and grow it yourself. You already own a waterbed. It's the next logical step.
And I'd save $40 a week.
You could grow it in your closet. I'll show you how.
Yes, I could move all my tuxedos and cashmere driving coats to the washing machine in the driveway. Okay, let's do it. Would you like to grow drugs with your old grandpa?
Aw, shucks, Grandpa. That'd be swell.
Go ahead and eat that in the kitchen, hun. But don't let Grandpa see it, or the clogged artery monster will come and get him in the night.
Okay.
Ice cream cone right before dinner. Bad day, Mom?
Horrible. I found out Darlene was right about something.
And now I'm putting down my phone.
You had a point. I didn't listen. I was so anxious to please the teacher, I made Beverly Rose scared to talk.
Oh, well, you don't have to apologize.
I didn't apologize. I said you were right.
Well, I shouldn't have gotten involved.
You know what I think you've both learned is that Beverly Rose shouldn't be you or you. She'll figure out who she's supposed to be. Me.
Yeah, if you strip away all the layers of self-loathing.
And the crazy that chills you to the bone, you have...
A shirt and a haircut that belong on a sculptor in New Mexico?
Grandpa, I brought you an ice cream sandwich. I want to see the clogged artery monster come and get you.
Where did you hear that?
Mommy, Aunt Jackie, Aunt Darlene.
Were they planning something? Because if they were hoping to see the term life insurance monster, I transformed him into a mortgage payment monster in the new sewer line.
Now I'm a new kind of monster. Give me that ice cream sandwich. And you're awful sweet. I'm gonna eat you up too.
Sorry I couldn't join you guys. I had a rehearsal for this gig I got coming up on the weekend.
Oh, gig. Oh, wow. Well, Neville's busy. I got nothing going on. I'd love to stop by, rock out, throw some elbows in the mosh pit.
Yeah, sorry, it's a private show.
Oh, is it for somebody famous? Come on, we won't tell anybody. Mainly because we don't have any friends.
Well, kind of famous. Okay, it's the Hunter Feldstein Bar Mitzvah. And yes, he is president of the student council, so it's kind of a big deal. Plus, his dad owns a car dealership, so it pays well and we get brisket.
Oh, don't worry, Ben. I got the dishes. I also cooked, so I like to do all the work after the meal for a sense of completion.
Huh? Oh, good for you, honey. Hey, the Chamber of Commerce is having Halloween festivities all week downtown, and they're asking us retailers to participate, but I'm not gonna be able to help your dad decorate the house and do that too.
Just throw some stuff in a bowl and leave it outside. If you're taking your kid to a hardware store on Halloween, you're officially giving up as a parent anyway.
Actually, I would have loved that as a kid. My mom only took me to a couple of houses to trick or treat, and then I had to rub her legs for the rest of the night while she ate my candy.
Oh, hey, they're having a most creative Frankenstein costume contest at that bar near the new house. $250.
You should enter that. You've still got the neck bolts and the size 26 boots from a year ago. That costume was fire.
Ah, fire!
Very amusing. But please don't do that when a city inspector stops by the new house on Tuesday to check out the electrical.
Tuesday? Well, there's no way we're gonna be ready for him.
Oh, that's why I gotta work straight through Halloween and I'm gonna need a hand. Oh, wait, I have one right here.
Hey, if you guys are working at night, can you try to keep the noise down? One of the new neighbors told me the entire block's already upset because construction's taken so long.
Sorry, the free labor isn't building your new house as quickly and quietly as you'd like.
Look, I just want a fresh start with new neighbors. Instead of having to roll into the driveway with my headlights off, I'd like to be able to get out and wave and invite them to a barbecue that we both know is never really gonna happen.
When you do that, you let me know, and I will whip up some of my famous make-believe potato salad. It takes a lot of imaginary time, but it's so worth it.
I've already taken the first step at getting in good with the new neighbors. I put up this small lending library box in front of the new house with free books that people can take.
Well, that may be the last place people can get books they actually want. I follow this human rights group on Instagram, and the moron who represents us on the school board is trying to ban a bunch of the classics at Mark's school.
I don't like book banning, but some parents just want to have a say in what their kids are reading. Personally, I've always thought that kind of parenting got in the way of my TV time.
This idiot wants to ban To Kill a Mockingbird, Catcher in the Rye, The Scarlet Letter. I spent my whole day going door to door to get people to sign a petition to recall this guy.
Yeah, good for you. You get in people's faces. Make them uncomfortable.
Well, we need more volunteers. You want to help?
Me? No, I don't believe in bothering people at home.
And yet, here you are.
As important as freedom of speech is, we have a bigger issue facing us. How we're going to get the house decorated in time for Halloween. Now, I'm not going to be able to do any of it, so you guys are going to have to step up.
Well, we don't know how to rig all the lights and animatronics and all that other stuff. And now there's a hand guillotine. I'd like to point out that we've had a toaster that's been broken for 20 years, but we have a hand guillotine.
I don't want to hear any excuses. Your mother and I were busy too, but we got it done. Get your butts in gear and make it happen, Captain.
All right. Who wants to get their butt in gear? So we're not doing Halloween this year. Okay. Who's gonna tell Dad?
Not me.
Okay. So we're all agreed. It's Becky.
The Connors is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Your dad's gonna be so disappointed we're not doing Halloween.
Well, I can't help decorate because I'm trying to save democracy. You guys are just old and lazy.
You're not wrong. I just really need a break from Halloween this year. My kids have outgrown it. The new house has been exhausting. Plus, staying on Ben's ass to build the lending library took a lot out of me.
For some reason, it had to have a little chimney. Now, I've never seen a library with a fireplace before, but that didn't matter, did it?
Even tiny little people like to snuggle up and read by the fire.
Oh, yeah. I had to build tiny little people, too.
Well, count me out. It's my first Halloween living with Neville. We're gonna dress up some of the animals at his clinic. You know, you can make a lamb look like Abraham Lincoln, but he's gonna eat the beard every time. But you see him, I'm saying, Abraham Lincoln. Oh, just me?
Oh, look, you know, your dad's gonna barely be around to enjoy Halloween anyway. It is not the end of the world if we miss 1 year.
Wait, you guys are bailing on Halloween?
Yeah, and you have to tell Dad. It was unanimous.
What? No, wait. This is Beverly Rose's first real Halloween. COVID stole the last two. We have to make this one special.
Well, you're the only one with a young kid. It's your fault for waiting to have one until 5 seconds before your womb turned to stone.
Fine. If you guys aren't gonna set up Halloween, guess I'll just have to do it myself.
Thanks,
great.
Becky.
Wait, no one's supposed to guilt you into helping me.
Yeah, strangely enough, the guilt just made us walk faster. Bye-bye.
I'll get it. Hi, can I help you?
Hi, I'm Pamela Finch. I live 3 houses down from where you're building your new home.
Oh, hi. That's my house. I'm Darlene. Really nice to meet you, neighbor. Please, come in. And, just so you know, the new house is gonna be a lot cleaner. And it won't smell like a nursing home. Inside a brewery, inside an Arby's.
That's good to hear. Some of the other neighbors asked me to come over. We have a little issue with the lending library in front of your house.
Please don't tell me it's the chimney, because that would make my husband right, and I can't have that kind of toxic dynamic in my marriage.
I've never actually seen a chimney on a library before, but that's not why I'm here. We've been patient with the hammering at night, but now you're using this library to push your politics on the neighborhood.
Politics? Oh, are you talking about the vegan cookbook? Because you can bring as much meat as you want to the barbecue. Oh, did I tell you I'm having a barbecue? You're invited.
No, it's about you sticking these flyers in the books that you're putting out, the books that the school board is trying to ban.
That would be me. I put those in there.
You what?
Well, we'd like you to take them out.
Well, we don't care what you want. You can't censor books because you don't agree with the ideas in them.
Harris, let me handle this.
No, it's your lending library, and we can put what we want in it. And if you have a problem with it, you could make your own lending library and put as much Ronald Reagan fan fiction in it as you want.
Harris, go upstairs. Please, right now.
Seriously?
Thank you, Darlene.
Look, my daughter's a very passionate person.
Look, I understand. Listen, if you want to make a better first impression with your new neighbors, why don't you get her under control? Get rid of all the flyers and the provocative books. Because of her aggressive, radical agenda, I had to take Lady Chatterley's lover away from my 9-year-old.
Well, I noticed that you never returned it, so I'm gonna have to disinvite you from the barbecue. You're lost because my aunt makes world-famous potato salad. Good day.
How's it going?
Oh, just great. Just a few pieces away from being 100 pieces away from being done.
Sorry, I can't help. I have to go to this bar mitzvah. I gotta go watch a boy become a man. And for the first time, I'll have nothing to do with it.
Son of a... Ow!
Look, Mommy, I helped.
Oh, good job getting the cobwebs, honey. Okay. This looks like a human femur. And this is a dog tail? Either there are multiple skeletons in here or one product of a very forbidden love. You know what? Let's just call this a scary Halloween tumbleweed. Let's see if this old thing still works. Okay.
Beverly Rose, are you excited to be moving into your new house?
Yes.
Good, then you're gonna have to pitch in. I'm gonna put you on the table saw.
Can I, Mommy?
No, and Grandpa has to stop making life-threatening things sound fun.
Okay. Hey, I just noticed there's no Halloween decorations up outside yet. You guys are really gonna have to kick it into gear to get it all done.
Everybody bailed. I'm the only one who wants to do Halloween this year.
Oh, wow. Well, I appreciate the effort, but if nobody wants to do it, I can't make it.
I can't believe I'm the only one who cares. Beverly Rose is never gonna know how cool this was.
But she will understand disappointment, and that's an important lesson to learn in this family. Oh, be careful of that skull. The wires are a little hinky.
Hey.
Hey, how was bar mitzvah?
Well, I learned that Hell is for Children is not a bar mitzvah song. And that Uncle Saul is all hands when he's had a couple of drinks. But brought you a doggy bag with some brisket and a chocolate dreidel.
You're a mensch. I can't find the remotes. Would you act out a couple of scenes from Cops for me? And at the end go, those ain't my drugs. This is my cousin's car. I just love that.
Wow. You know, Halloween is just a couple days away. I thought the place would be decorated by now. Still looks like a house where scary things happen, but more in a, that's not the right color for tap water kind of way. Hey, you okay?
Nope. I asked everybody to step up and help with the decorating, and they didn't. Halloween's our big holiday.
Well, if the kids don't want to do it, screw them. You were doing it mostly for them anyway, right?
No, also for myself. When Roseanne and I were first married, our families hated each other, so Thanksgiving and Christmas were miserable. But Halloween was for us, and we loved it.
All right, well, you know, we'll just skip it this year. And I promise, you can still take Easter eggs off the neighbor's lawn before the kids come outside.
I love that.
We'll just do Halloween next year.
I doubt it. Darlene, Becky, and Beverly Rose are all moving out. Mark's going to college. Everybody's got their own lives, and once they stop, it'll be hard as hell to get them back. It's the end of an era. I don't even feel like eating my dreidel.
I don't know if I'm making this the right size. How's it look to you? Beverly Rose, can you come in here a sec? Mommy has to measure your beautiful face for your costume.
Can I be an astronaut leopard princess?
Sorry, sweetie, that request is about 8 hours late. This year, Mama's gonna work through the night to make you a beautiful rose costume so that you can go as a Beverly Rose.
A astronaut leopard rose.
No, just a rose. With petals that the hot glue gun burns right through to Mommy's fingers. Ow!
The scissors are on your foot and it's bleeding.
It sure is, honey. There's a mummy in the trunk in the garage. Could you bring it in here? Mommy needs the bandages.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Beverly Rose.
I can't talk now.
Like, I'm dying to hear what Peppa Pig did today. God, those scissors in your foot look so real.
It's a long story.
You ready to talk?
There's nothing to talk about. I only came down here because I thought you left.
I know, that's why I backed out of the driveway, drove around the block, and then pulled back in.
You took her side, didn't you?
No, I did not, but you put me in a really bad situation.
You always told us to stand up for what we believe in because you believed in those things too. You told Mark not to hide being gay. You told Beverly Rose not to hide being smart. I'm standing up for freedom of speech, and you tell me to shut up and go to my room?
Because I have to live next to these people, all right? Everybody always looked down on me in this neighborhood because of my parents, and I don't want anyone looking down on me in the new neighborhood because of you. For once, I'd like people to dislike me for me.
God, you're such a sellout. Why don't you care more about what I think of you than a bunch of strangers?
Because you stopped liking me when you were 8. I gotta go with people I got a shot with.
Happy Halloween, little people. Have some candy corn. Sorry if I crushed anyone. Damn it, Ben. Forgot to lock this thing.
Happy Halloween!
Holy crap!
We knew you were disappointed we weren't doing Halloween back at the house, so we did it here.
Yeah, we're gonna have the trick-or-treaters come in, do the whole 9 yards, just like we were at the house. Oh, and we're gonna scare the crap out of them with this.
Whoa! I love it! That's why you sent me all the way to that electrical supply house in Winnetka.
Oh, well, no shame being outsmarted by Ben Franklinstein. I am on $100 bills, so that's why you wouldn't recognize me.
Well, I know you've been working hard, so how would you like a little bite to eat prepared by me, Dr. Stu Little? I talk to the animals and then I chop them up into the stew, because I'm a sicko!
I apologize for thinking you guys were going to let me down this year.
Oh, no, actually, that was the plan. Yeah, until this showed up on the family group text.
If you guys don't make this happen for Dan, who's devoted his life to you and asks for nothing in return, I will stuff you all into those Halloween trunks, wait till you've dried out, and use you as next year's decorations.
It's funny how psychopathic threats can help you see something from a different point of view.
That's why I love her. even if she is dressed up like Alice Cooper in Wonderland.
Ah, welcome to my nightmare.
Oh, that's what I said when she first married me.
And we actually have a costume for you while you're working on the electrical system.
Oh,
Oh,
That on?
okay.
Put out your hand.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Great.
okay, now touch that outlet.
Okay.
Mommy, it's a haunted house. And there is candy. Okay.
Where were you? I tried texting you to come help us like 3 hours ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I moving a little slowly for you? I have 2 swollen fingers, a wrenched back, hot glue gun burns, and a hole in my foot because somebody decided we're skipping Halloween this year.
Well, what matters now is that you're here and you're dressed as a flying Q-tip.
No, I am a helicopter mummy. It was clever, and it stopped the bleeding.
And you are a tiger lily.
No, Grandpa, I'm a leopard rose.
Well, I'm shocked.
Don't get excited. I'm not here for you. I'm here for Grandpa.
Oh, well, I like your costume. You look like somebody who is unjustly slut-shamed by a Puritan village.
I'm Hester Prynne. Goals.
Guess what your mom is?
Well, I think it's just random so she could show us she still fits in her Little League uniform.
No, I thought a lot about what you said, and I do care about censorship, and I do care what you think of me. So that's why I am the catcher in the rye.
Well, it's not exactly proactive, but I know you must feel like an idiot in that costume, so that makes me happy.
Oh, it gets better. Even though I want to make a fresh start with my new neighbors, everybody who stops by to trick or treat will get the message.
Thanks, Mom. It's possible I was wrong about you when I was 8.
I asked, it was your idea, and you got it from Pamela Finch 3 doors down.
Happy Halloween, everybody!
Drop dead.
There's more!
Jacked off!
The morning sun filtered through the cracked blinds of the kitchen, casting long, geometric shadows across the worn linoleum floor. Dan sat heavily at the wooden table, his face contorted into a grimace as he gingerly rotated his left shoulder. Every movement was a battle against the sharp, throbbing ache of bursitis that had plagued him for days. The heavy iron skillet sat on the stove, filled with thick, bubbling tomato paste that filled the room with a rich, acidic aroma. The screen door creaked open, and Jackie stepped inside, sniffing the air with an expression of genuine surprise. For once she had walked into the house and found that something smelled remarkably good. Dan let out a dry chuckle, holding the wooden spoon like a defensive weapon. He explained that it was Beverly Rose's first day of kindergarten, and he wanted to do something truly special for the occasion. He was in the middle of preparing Captain Crunch pancakes, complete with a mountain of whipped cream and fresh strawberries on top. Jackie rolled her eyes, scoffing at the culinary choice. She remarked that it was a brilliant plan to get a 5-year-old completely jacked up on sugar first thing in the morning, only to hand her off to an unsuspecting teacher a mere hour later. She began rummaging through the freezer, searching for the familiar plastic bag of frozen strawberries. When her hands found nothing but empty space, she turned back to Dan, demanding to know where they had gone. Dan shifted uncomfortably in his chair, rubbing his shoulder. He confessed that he had been using the frozen strawberry pack as a makeshift cold compress in bed to soothe his aching joints. Jackie sighed heavily, shutting the freezer door with a soft thud. She told him that if he desperately needed a cold pack, he should use the frozen broccoli instead. She pointed out that soothing a sore muscle was the absolute only reason they ever bought broccoli in the first place, since nobody in the house had any intention of eating it. Dan made a face of pure disgust at the suggestion. He muttered that he simply did not like having broccoli that close to his mouth, even if it was trapped inside a plastic bag, but he conceded that her logic made sense. Darlene walked into the kitchen, carrying a small, rectangular object wrapped in faded brown paper. She announced that the big day had finally arrived and that she had brought a little present for Beverly Rose to celebrate her milestone. Jackie leaned over, curiously peeking at the package. She gasped dramatically when she realized what it was, asking if Darlene was seriously giving the poor child an old, second-hand pencil case. Darlene nodded proudly, explaining that it was her very own vintage pencil case from her own school days. She pointed to the faint, scratched lettering on the plastic surface, which proudly displayed the motto to trust no one. It was, in her mind, the perfect foundational lesson for a child entering the educational system. Becky entered the room next, a strong wave of fragrance trailing behind her. She took one look at Darlene and whistled. She jokingly asked if Darlene was looking to hit on the kindergarten teacher because the overwhelming scent of her car wash perfume practically screamed a desperate plea for someone to buy her a sandwich in exchange for her affection. Darlene glared at her sister, smoothing down her collar. She defensively replied that she merely wanted to make a stellar first impression on the new teacher. She added that if the gentleman happened to be independently wealthy, single, and only teaching kindergarten to ease his overwhelming guilt about his generational wealth, that would simply be an added bonus. Jackie smirked, leaning against the counter. She pointed out that Darlene was clearly sucking up before the first bell had even rung. She questioned whether Darlene realized what kind of submissive, systemic message that sent to her daughter. Darlene countered immediately, asserting that there was absolutely nothing wrong with striving to be the teacher's pet. In her view, one had to actively work the system from the inside if they ever wanted to succeed in this life. Becky snorted, pouring herself a cup of coffee. She asked if that cynical philosophy was the reason Darlene always dressed exactly like her middle school teachers when she was a child. Darlene lifted her chin defensively, stating that first of all, she looked absolutely fantastic in knit separates. Furthermore, she argued that her strategy had worked perfectly. Her old teacher had loved her so intensely that Darlene had practically doubled her own wardrobe by inheriting old clothes after the teacher's husband left her, a tragic event that caused the poor woman to turn to pie as her sole source of comfort. Before the debate could escalate, Jackie looked toward the hallway, wondering aloud when Beverly Rose would finally come upstairs. She explained that she was there with her camera fully charged, ready to document every single moment of the big day. Darlene softened slightly, admitting that the gesture was surprisingly sweet. Jackie nodded, a faraway look entering her eyes. She explained that she wanted the girl to have the kind of beautiful, supportive memories of her first day of school that Jackie herself had been denied. She recalled how her own mother had bluntly told her that she was far too plain-looking to ever be naturally liked by her peers. Her mother had instructed her to wear a short skirt, scale to the absolute top of the jungle gym, and ensure that she would at least be popular with the boys standing at the bottom looking up. The kitchen fell into a stunned silence for a brief second. Becky blinked, processing the story, and remarked that it sounded like an incredibly dysfunctional childhood memory. Jackie continued without missing a beat, adding that when the skirt strategy failed to yield results, her mother had made sure to stuff a thick wad of dollar bills into her backpack. She was instructed to pass the money out to the boys just so they would be bribed into talking to her. Darlene analyzed the scenario with a dry, analytical tone. She remarked that the scenario sounded like the exact psychological opposite of being a stripper, given that Jackie was showing her underwear and paying the audience instead of taking their money. Jackie snapped her fingers, pointing at Darlene in total agreement, confirming that her sister had summarized the tragedy perfectly. Meanwhile, Becky was busy hovering over a small plastic lunchbox. She announced that she was putting a heartfelt, handwritten note inside Beverly Rose's lunch. She held up a small sandwich that she had carefully cut into the shape of a heart, asking the room if her accompanying message was perhaps a bit too much. She read the note aloud, which stated that when Beverly Rose ate the sandwich, her mother's heart would literally be inside her tummy all day long. Darlene scoffed at the sentimentality, but Becky ignored her, turning her attention back to her daughter. Becky explained that she knew this morning would be a deeply emotional, overwhelming experience for everyone, which was why she had entirely cleared her work schedule for the day. She wanted to ride along to the school to offer maximum emotional support. Darlene narrowed her eyes, immediately seeing through the offer. She accused Becky of simply trying to co-opt her special parenting moment. Darlene firmly stated that she was entirely prepared for the day and did not need any interference. Suddenly, Beverly Rose bounded into the room, wearing a bright new backpack that looked slightly too large for her small frame. Darlene looked at her daughter, and a wave of sudden, raw maternal panic washed over her face. She realized with a jolt that the moment was actually happening. She looked at her tiny child, gasping that she would not see her again until noon. The reality of the separation hit her hard, and she admitted that she knew this emotional breakdown would happen. Turning to Becky with a desperate, sudden shift in attitude, Darlene asked if the offer to ride along was still on the table. Becky smiled triumphantly, making a cheerful, repetitive noise as she grabbed her keys, happy to be needed. Back at the kitchen table, Harris walked in, watching Dan struggle to lift the heavy iron skillet with his right hand. She sighed, pointing out that large corporations sold pre-made ketchup in actual stores, meaning he did not have to slave away making his own artisanal condiments from scratch. Dan glared up at his granddaughter, his knuckles white around the handle of the skillet. He warned her not to make fun of a grown man holding a heavy piece of cast-iron cookware. He muttered that he was almost old enough to commit a serious crime and old enough not to care about serving the prison time for it. Harris shrugged nonchalantly, pouring a glass of juice. She pointed out the logistical flaw in his threat, noting that he would have to attack her with his left hand, which she highly doubted he could manage given his current physical state. She noted that his bursitis was clearly winning the battle. Dan stubborned his jaw, insisting that he would be perfectly fine. Harris smirked, stating that a regular, unmoving tomato had just clearly beaten him in a physical fight, which was a sad state of affairs for an old man. Jackie raised her hands, stepping forward with an enthusiastic smile. She announced that she might actually be able to help him with his chronic shoulder pain. She claimed that she had recently undergone some extensive training in the ancient art of Reiki, and several people in her spiritual circle had mentioned that she possessed genuine, latent healing powers. Dan looked at her suspiciously, shifting back in his chair. He immediately set a firm boundary, stating that she was absolutely not allowed to touch him. Jackie reassured him, waving her hands in gentle, circular motions through the air. She explained that her hands would merely hover over the specific area where it hurt. She would then use her natural internal energy to identify and remove the spiritual blockage, allowing his body to undergo a natural healing process without any physical contact whatsoever. Dan hesitated, then leaned back, reiterating that there must be absolutely no touching involved. Jackie nodded solemnly, instructing him to close his eyes, clear his mind, and try his absolute best to relax. Once Dan complied, letting out a heavy breath, Jackie began to move her hands rapidly above his shoulder, generating a bizarre, trembling motion while making a loud, rhythmic vibrating sound with her mouth. Dan opened one eye, watching her bizarre display, and immediately broke into a fit of laughter. He told her that her strange performance was doing absolutely nothing for his physical ailment. Jackie stopped, frowning at his lack of faith. She urged him to allow the energy in, calling him by his name, Dan. She warned that his deep-seated cynicism was the ultimate barrier to true health and longevity. She decided that she would simply have to extend the frequency of her spiritual energy and dig a little bit deeper into his aura. Dan looked at her warily, asking one final time to ensure she would not touch him. Jackie called him a big baby, reaffirming that she had no intention of making physical contact. At that exact moment, Harris walked back into the center of the room, stopping dead in her tracks. She stared at the older adults, asking what on earth the two freaks were doing in the middle of the kitchen. Jackie dropped her hands, explaining that her grandfather was suffering from severe, debilitating bursitis in his shoulder, and she was simply attempting to heal him using alternative medicine. Harris sighed, shaking her head at the older generation. She stated that she could not comprehend why baby boomers insisted on waving their hands around in the air like lunatics when they could easily just smoke some medicinal cannabis to solve their physical problems. She confessed that she personally smoked it every single morning to loosen up her muscles before she exercised. She then casually admitted that she usually ended up skipping the actual exercise entirely, choosing instead to spend hours watching videos on social media of people accidentally falling down, but she still felt absolutely fantastic regardless. Jackie objected instantly, declaring that Dan did not need any more drugs introduced into his system. She argued that his old, fragile veins could barely transport his regular blood as it was. Dan slammed his hand on the table, telling them to knock it off with the constant old guy jokes. He admitted that he used to smoke a bit of weed back in high school whenever he hurt himself playing football, but he had completely forgotten about it over the years. Harris leaned against the counter, pointing out that his high school days were ancient history. She noted that nowadays, he drank like a fish, ate terrible, greasy food, and really did not need to throw any more toxic trash onto the absolute environmental landfill that he called a body. She explained that the modern cannabis industry was entirely different from the illegal grass of his youth. She told him that he could walk right into a legal dispensary and purchase carefully cultivated, high-quality strains that could genuinely target his specific shoulder pain. She boldly suggested that they all take a trip to the local weed store immediately. Dan considered the option for a moment, his shoulder throbbing painfully. He finally nodded, agreeing to go to the store. Harris smiled, announcing that she would absolutely be going with them. She explained that they were going to desperately need someone from the streets who could actually speak the modern lingo and prevent them from looking completely foolish. Dan smiled dryly, remarking that a street guide would be nice, but he was fairly certain Snoop Dogg was currently too busy baking gourmet cupcakes with Martha Stewart to assist them. Harris clarified that she was talking about herself, not a famous rapper. She looked at her grandfather, joking that he had not even taken a single tokay of the jazz cabbage yet, and he was already completely unable to follow a simple, straightforward conversation. Meanwhile, at the local elementary school, the bright classroom was filled with small tables and colorful posters. The kindergarten teacher stood at the front of the room, holding up a large, blue cardboard cutout. She spoke in a bright, exaggerated tone, asking her class of littles if anyone knew what specific geometric shape she was holding. Beverly Rose raised her hand high into the air, shouting out that it was a triangle before anyone else could even blink. The teacher smiled patiently, thanking Beverly Rose for the answer. She then held up a second cardboard cutout, asking the room to identify the next shape. Before the other children could even process the question, Beverly Rose loudly announced that it was a rectangle. Becky sat in a small adult chair at the back of the room, beaming with intense pride. She whispered loudly to the parent sitting next to her, bragging that her daughter was a chip off the old block. She joked that nobody should let the permanent spaghetti stains on the girl's shirt fool them, because Becky herself had been in the Honor Society for 3 years running during her own school days. Darlene, sitting right beside Becky, muttered under her breath that Becky was also a massive underachiever in the grand scheme of things. The teacher cleared her throat, gently addressing the classroom. She stated that she really, truly hoped that they could hear from some of the other children in the room tomorrow. She then clapped her hands, announcing that it was officially clean-up time for the day. As the children began to gather the blocks, the teacher walked toward the back of the room, politely asking if she could speak to Beverly Rose's mother for a brief second. Becky stood up, a confident smile on her face. She preempted the conversation, stating that she already knew exactly what the teacher was going to say. She bragged that Beverly Rose did indeed seem to be completely mopping the floor with the competition, but she assured the teacher that they did not view kindergarten as a ruthless contest. The teacher offered a polite, strained smile, agreeing that the little girl was clearly very bright. However, she carefully added that Beverly Rose was also incredibly vocal, perhaps even a bit too vocal for a collaborative classroom environment. She explained that this formative period was supposed to be a safe time for all the littles to not only learn the curriculum, but also to gain some necessary personal self-esteem. She pointed out that Beverly Rose was currently not giving any of the other children a single chance to participate or build confidence. Becky defended her daughter instantly, arguing that Beverly Rose only felt entirely free to talk because the teacher had successfully created such a wonderful, safe learning environment. She smiled warmly, telling the teacher that the girl's behavior was actually a glowing testament to her excellent teaching skills. Suddenly, Darlene stepped up beside them, mimicking a knocking sound with her fist. She loudly asked who was there, answering her own joke by declaring it was the teacher of the year. The teacher sighed, her patience wearing thin. She informed Becky that due to the persistent over-participation, she had unfortunately been forced to move Beverly Rose's personal wooden clothes pin from the green success section of the behavioral chart down to the yellow warning section. She looked at Becky pointedly, stating that whether or not a child managed to turn their behavioral trajectory around was entirely dependent on the efforts of the parent at home. Becky looked at the chart, her confidence faltering slightly. She quickly recovered, assuring the teacher that she was looking at a dedicated parent who was absolutely fantastic at turning things around in life. As a parting shot, Becky smiled sweetly, complimenting the teacher by telling her that she absolutely loved her knit separates. Later that afternoon, Becky and Beverly Rose walked into the house. Becky knelt down to her daughter's eye level, telling her how incredibly proud she was of her for having such a successful first day of school. Beverly Rose beamed, proudly stating that she had successfully answered every single question the teacher asked. Becky nodded slowly, shifting her tone to a more delicate, guiding frequency. She explained that the answering of questions was exactly what they needed to discuss. She told her daughter that even if she happened to know every single answer in the world, it might be nice to step back and give the other children a fair chance to speak. Beverly Rose frowned, explaining that it simply took far too long for the other kids to come up with an answer, and when they finally did speak, they almost always did it completely wrong. Becky offered a soft, sympathetic smile. She explained that it was perfectly okay for people to be wrong sometimes, noting that the other children could not necessarily help it if they were not quite as smart as Beverly Rose. Beverly Rose nodded earnestly, explaining that she had actually told the other children that exact same thing so they would not feel bad about their lower intelligence. Becky winced slightly at the revelation. She explained that if Beverly Rose did not let the other children answer questions, her wooden clothes pin was going to stay firmly stuck on the yellow warning section, and they certainly did not want that. She told her daughter that she was a green clothespin daughter, and Becky was a green clothespin mommy. Beverly Rose nodded reluctantly, agreeing to try harder. Becky stood up, letting out a sigh, muttering that she had to get back to managing the contents of a children's lunchbox, which was evidently the grand prize that a green clothespin life ultimately secured for an adult. Darlene walked into the room, overhearing the conversation. She smirked at her sister, joking that Becky possessed both biological curves and blonde hair, a combination that clearly killed her inside. She then curiously asked Becky if she had ever personally received a yellow clothespin during her own childhood. Becky scoffed, waving her hand dismissively. She admitted that she had merely passed through the yellow warning zone at lightning speed on her permanent trajectory toward the dreaded, permanent red section of the behavioral chart. Darlene looked at her daughter, asking Beverly Rose if it deeply bothered her that she had received a yellow clothespin today. Beverly Rose shrugged, admitting that she supposed it did, but she emphasized that she simply liked knowing all the correct answers. Darlene kneeled down beside her niece, offering a completely different piece of advice. She told the girl that if she liked knowing the answers, she should keep right on answering. She added that if anyone ever told her to stop being smart, she should simply shout her answers even louder. She looked at the girl seriously, stating that while she loved Becky's mother like a sister, the entire educational clothespin system was nothing more than a giant psychological scam. She asked Beverly Rose if she felt like she had actually done anything morally wrong today. Beverly Rose shook her head no, but she noted that when she offered too many correct answers, the teacher denied her the opportunity to visit the coveted classroom prize bucket. Darlene patted her shoulder, telling her that the ultimate prize in life was the internal knowledge that she absolutely rocked, while those other passive children were just natural-born losers. She then leaned in, whispering that speaking of absolute losers, She wondered if Beverly Rose wanted to sit in on a serious adult meeting with a bunch of really pathetic, conformist green clothespin people. Suddenly, a loud crackle echoed through Darlene's laptop on the counter. She gasped, realizing with horror that her microphone was not actually muted for her corporate remote work meeting. Meanwhile, across town, Dan, Jackie, and Harris walked through the glass doors of the local legal cannabis dispensary. The interior was sleek, pristine, and brightly lit, looking more like a high-end boutique than an old-school drug den. Dan looked around the immaculate room, wide-eyed with utter amazement. He remarked that the place looked like a surreal cross between a Hollywood actor like Seth Rogen and a fictional candy maker like Willy Wonka had somehow given birth to a retail establishment. Jackie looked around with a hint of nostalgic melancholy, admitting that she found the corporate nature of the modern establishment a little bit sad. She wistfully recalled that there was a certain undeniable, old-school sweetness about buying illegal drugs from a shady character in a public park. A young, polished budtender behind the counter smiled professionally, asking the group how he could help them today. Harris stepped forward, holding up a hand to calm the employee. She told the slick worker to take it easy. She pointed to Dan, noting that while her grandfather might look like a decrepit, ancient old fool, he luckily had her along for the ride. Dan glared at his granddaughter, but chose to address the employee instead. He explained that he simply needed something effective for his intense physical pain. Jackie interrupted, loudly stating that they needed something to cure the deep, existential pain of living in an entirely unjust world where the physical planet was burning up from climate change and citizens were actively losing their human rights to fascist rule. The budtender blinked in confusion, asking if they were looking for a remedy for global political anxiety, or perhaps just a hurt foot. Dan cleared his throat, confirming that they were definitely looking for the foot option, except the pain was located entirely in his right shoulder. He mentioned that he used to smoke a little bit of grass back in his high school days to manage injuries. Jackie nodded eagerly, chiming in that they both used to partake back in the day, referring to themselves as a couple of old-school hopheads. She boasted to the young employee that they certainly did not get their regular grass from some giant, sterile corporate doobie warehouse like the soft, modern generation. She claimed that they had to bravely travel to the absolute other side of the train tracks just to purchase products from the local street dealer. She then admitted that she had recently tried a lot of alternative products infused with basic cannabidiol, but it simply did not seem to be helping Dawn's severe shoulder pain at all. The budtender assessed Dawn's large, sturdy frame. He nodded thoughtfully, stating that since Dan was a pretty big guy, he could likely handle some incredibly strong, high-quality flour. He reached into the display case, pulling out a container and explaining that the specific strain was called Nightmare, noting that it was exceptionally high in tetrahydrocannabinol. He then pointed to a second option, explaining that it was popularly known as brain bleed, describing it as a potent strain that was strong enough to numb pain while still allowing the user to actively play a game of tennis. Dan shook his head, stating that he did not care about playing sports. He emphasized that he simply needed a product that would ensure he could not feel his shoulder whatsoever. The budtender smiled, pulling out a third jar. He announced that this specific option was called I Cannot Feel My Face, suggesting that it would probably work wonders on his shoulder as well. He then asked if Dan preferred to consume his cannabis in the form of edible gummies or traditional flour. Harris jumped in, eagerly opting for the candy option. The budtender rung up the total on the digital register, announcing that the purchase would come to exactly $40. Jackie gasped, throwing her hands up in absolute shock at the price. She loudly asked the worker where the rest of the inventory was stored, wondering if they kept a giant wooden barrel in the back where a customer could simply bag a couple of loose, cheap pieces of candy for a nickel. The budtender sighed patiently, informing her that this modern establishment was not a candy shop, and they were certainly not on Coney Island during the 1930s. Darlene walked up to the counter from the back of the store, having overheard the entire embarrassing exchange. She looked at the young employee, calling him Harry Pothead, and confidently stated that she had personally destroyed far more lucrative life opportunities with heavy drug use than the young man would ever hope to experience in his entire lifetime. Harris laughed loudly, pointing at her aunt, declaring that Darlene must be completely high out of her mind right now. Back at the house later that afternoon, Darlene stood in the kitchen as Becky and Beverly Rose walked through the door. Darlene looked down at her niece, gently instructing Beverly Rose to go directly downstairs to wash her hands, promising that she would prepare a nice snack for her in just a moment. Once the little girl had left the room, Darlene turned to her sister, her expression serious, stating that they desperately needed to talk. Becky sighed, adjusting her purse strap, stating that she was currently in the middle of her remote work day. She looked at her phone, agreeing with a colleague named and on a work message before pocketing the device and turning back to Darlene. Darlene crossed her arms, explaining that when she picked up Beverly Rose from school, the teacher had pulled her aside to report that the little girl was suddenly twice as aggressive as she had been the previous day. Becky defended her daughter immediately, asking if the teacher had specifically used the word aggressive or if she actually meant assertive, emphasizing that there was a massive, distinct difference between the two traits. Darlene explained that before the intervention, Beverly Rose was simply answering all the classroom questions. However, after Becky's lecture about the clothespins, the girl had shifted to actively calling out the other children in front of the room, loudly branding them as entirely dumb. Darlene added that when the teacher eventually threatened to move her clothespin to the permanent red section, Beverly Rose had defiantly looked the authority figure in the eye and stated that the entire system was a total scam. Becky smiled proudly, remarking that such a statement was incredibly perceptive for a 5-year-old child, arguing that Darlene should be proud of her niece. Darlene glared at her, revealing that Beverly Rose had explicitly admitted that Becky was the one who told her to act that way. She explained that the girl had asked her why she was in trouble for being smart, and Darlene had simply told her to always be herself. She accused Becky of meddling, stating that the situation was absolutely none of her business, and she should have stayed out of it entirely. Becky fired back, arguing that Beverly Rose should absolutely never have to hide her natural inner light just to make others comfortable. She accused Darlene of playing stupid her entire life just so random people would like her. Darlene scoffed, clarifying that she did not play stupid, rather she practiced being highly strategic. She argued that angry, confrontational little ball busters who successfully alienate everybody around them do not get rewarded in the school system or the real world. She pointed out that the school had recently appointed Becky as a crossing guard, which was proof of her standing. Becky corrected her quickly, noting that she was assigned to the absolute most dangerous street, which happened to be located the farthest away from the actual school building. Darlene smirked, asking Becky if she had ever stopped to wonder why the administration had never actually given her one of those bright, reflective safety vests. Becky frowned, muttering that the school officials had explicitly told her that they had simply run out of the vests. She quickly redirected the conversation, asserting that asking Beverly Rose to refrain from answering questions was morally wrong. Darlene countered that it was not wrong at all. She argued that the girl desperately needed to learn how to successfully get along with regular people in the real world. Becky challenged her, asking if getting along actually just meant learning how to know her place as a submissive woman. She stated that she could not believe Darlene was refusing to defend her own flesh and blood. She reminded Darlene that while their deceased mother certainly had her share of personal problems, she would have absolutely marched down to that school and ripped the teacher's head clean off her shoulders to protect her kids. Darlene nodded, admitting that while their mother would have done exactly that, it resulted in the children becoming the weird kids with the visibly crazy mother. She asked Becky how she had genuinely liked experiencing that as a child. Becky softened slightly, looking down. She confessed that while she used to desperately want to crawl into a deep hole and hide while their mother was screaming at school officials, the extreme defense ultimately made her feel incredibly protected and more confident inside, which eventually made her a much stronger adult. She urged Darlene to think deeply about what specific kind of person she was ultimately teaching Beverly Rose to become. Darlene sighed, stating that Becky clearly wanted the girl to be less like Darlene and more like Becky, which Darlene viewed as the absolute last thing she wanted for her daughter. Becky looked offended, asking if Darlene truly believed it was better for the girl to turn out like her. She pointed out that Darlene had been so incredibly anxious to please people in her youth that she had completely given up her higher education and abandoned her family, just so she could move away with a boy named Mark to Minnesota. Darlene froze, her face darkening. She stated that since Becky clearly had nothing else constructive to say to her, she needed to get out of her face immediately. Becky turned to leave, tossing a final insult over her shoulder, suggesting that perhaps if Darlene were a bit easier to get along with in a professional setting, her company would not force her to work entirely from home. Darlene shouted back that the company did not force her. Rather, working from home was her own personal lucrative option. Later that evening, Dan sat heavily on the living room sofa, staring blankly ahead with a glazed, unblinking expression. Harris and Jackie walked into the room, stopping to observe his bizarre demeanor. Harris looked at him closely, asking what on earth was going on with him. Dan giggled softly, murmuring that nothing was wrong at all. Jackie stepped forward, scanning the empty candy wrappers on the coffee table. She demanded to know exactly how many cannabis gummies Dan had consumed. Dan blinked slowly, his voice slurred. He explained that he truly did not know. He recounted that he had initially taken a single gummy, but after waiting a while, it did not seem to work at all. Consequently, he decided to take a second gummy. Right after that, the very first gummy finally kicked in with full force. He explained that the sudden chemical reaction made him incredibly hungry, which led him to foolishly consume the third gummy. Harris widened her eyes in horror, stating that a person should never, under any circumstances, take the third gummy. Jackie quickly guided Dan, telling him to sit firmly down on the couch and remain completely still, reassuring him that everything was going to be perfectly fine. Dan panicked slightly, staring down at his lower extremities. He gasped that he could not walk because his feet were currently on the entirely wrong feet. Harris laughed, asking if he meant to say that they were not actually his own feet. Dan snapped back with sudden, altered intensity, asking what was wrong with her. He insisted that of course they were his own feet, but he explained that they had somehow been attached to the completely wrong legs, which was causing them to absolutely refuse to walk together in a straight line. Jackie nodded solemnly, playing along with his altered state of reality. She assured him that she could easily help him with that specific anatomical problem. She leaned down, making dramatic twisting motions in the air around his ankles, announcing that she was successfully switching them back to their rightful positions. She told him that his feet would now completely agree with one another, confirming that they were all back to normal. She then instructed him to stand up so they could go for a walk to clear his head. Dan staggered to his feet, gripping Jackie's shoulder for balance. He asked with a tone of sudden exhaustion how long they would be walking for, wondering if it would take about an hour. Jackie nodded, confirming the timeline. Dan groaned loudly, crying out to God in despair as they slowly shuffled toward the front door. Darlene walked into the living room, taking one look at the chaotic scene. She smirked, remarking that the older adults had clearly experimented with the modern edibles. Harris nodded, warning Darlene that the substances were definitely not standard children candy. She suggested they get Dan some heavy carbohydrates immediately to help absorb the compounds. Darlene walked over to the television remote, stating that they needed to put something on the screen that was incredibly soothing, familiar, and predictable for him to watch. As she flipped through the digital streaming menu, Dan suddenly shouted out for her to go back. He pointed at the screen, demanding that she return to the very first option. Darlene looked at the screen, pausing, and pointed out that the image was simply the default television screensaver. Dan leaned back against the cushions, staring intensely at the moving geometric shapes, instructing her to leave it right there. He added in a serious whisper that she must not dare tell him how the story ends. The next morning, back in the bright kindergarten classroom, the teacher stood before the children once again, holding up a colorful illustration of a furry animal. She used her bright, encouraging voice, asking which one of her lovely littles could identify what specific animal was featured in the picture. A small boy raised his hand, guessing that it was a dog. The teacher smiled patiently, telling him that it was a very good try. She then instructed the classroom to look closely at the picture and carefully read the printed word underneath it. She asked the room what the letters explicitly spelled out. Beverly Rose sat silently at her table, her lips tightly sealed, refusing to utter a single word even as the other children giggled and shouted out the answer. At the end of the school day, the parents gathered in the hallway to collect their children. The teacher opened the door, bidding a cheerful goodbye to all of her students, telling them that they had done a fantastic job and that she would see them all tomorrow. Becky knelt down as Beverly Rose walked out, hugging her tightly. She asked her daughter how her second day of school had turned out. Beverly Rose reached into her backpack, proudly holding up her wooden clothes pin, which had been moved completely back to the green success section. Becky gasped with joy, declaring that the news was absolutely great. Beverly Rose explained that she had achieved the green status by entirely refusing to talk for the duration of the whole day. She added that the teacher had explicitly told her that her complete silence was a remarkably good thing. Becky froze, her smile disappearing. She asked for clarification, wondering if her daughter truly had not spoken a single word all day long. Beverly Rose confirmed that she had remained entirely silent, explaining that even when she knew the absolute correct answer to every single question, she remembered what Becky had said and kept her mouth shut. She admitted that it was incredibly hard to do, but she noted that the teacher now liked her very much, and she had even been allowed to retrieve a shiny new yo-yo from the classroom prize bucket as a reward for her compliance. Darlene, standing nearby, muttered dryly that the reward system sounded like an absolute psychological nightmare. Becky looked at her daughter, keeping her voice calm, instructing Beverly Rose to go wait for her down the hallway for just a moment. Once the child was out of earshot, Becky marched directly up to the teacher, who was tidying up her desk. She called out a stiff greeting. The teacher turned around, beaming with a wide smile. She gushed that all of her lovely littles had finally been given a fair opportunity to talk today, resulting in a much better, highly cooperative day for the entire classroom. She praised Beverly Rose, stating that the girl had successfully participated in a completely non-disruptive, quiet way. Becky crossed her arms, her voice dripping with sharp sarcasm. She asked the teacher what she could possibly mean by the word participated. She pointed out that her brilliant daughter had essentially just sat in a chair, completely shut down and silent for 6 hours straight. The teacher shook her head, defending her curriculum. She argued that Beverly Rose had been a very lively, attentive listener and an excellent observer today. She looked at Becky, offering a patronizing compliment, telling her that she had done a good job as a mother. Becky stepped closer, her maternal instinct completely taking over. She asked the teacher if that submissive, silent behavior was truly what they were trying to raise in modern society. She questioned whether the school goal was simply to produce girls who grew up to be good little listeners and passive observers. She argued that by rewarding her silence, the teacher was actively teaching the girl that if she ever dared to show how intelligent she truly was, she would be swiftly punished by authority figures. She pointed out that Beverly Rose was learning a dangerous lesson from the teacher right now, a lesson that would ultimately transform her into the kind of woman who keeps entirely quiet in a corporate board meeting. Choosing to stay silent even if the chief executive officer was looking directly at a cat and calling it a dog. The teacher blinked, shocked by the intense confrontation. Becky continued her tirade, stating that she wanted to make one thing crystal clear. She announced that she did not give an absolute damn whether the teacher believed she was a good mother or a terrible one. She joked that her daughter would ultimately decide that question with a licensed therapist in 20 years anyway. However, for the immediate future, Becky declared that her child was going to answer questions whenever she wanted to, and the teacher would simply have to deal with the reality of it. The teacher stared at her, a sudden look of recognition dawning on her face. She gasped, stating that she had just finally realized that Becky was a member of the notorious Connor family. She recalled memories from her own youth, remembering when Becky's mother had famously marched into her third-grade classroom and completely lost her mind on the teacher because Becky's sister, Darlene, had received a poor grade of a D on her school diorama project. The teacher recounted how the mother had screamed, demanding to know how Darlene could possibly get a D on the exact same project that Becky had previously received an A on when she had turned it in years prior. Becky smiled proudly, tilting her head. She confirmed that the teacher was absolutely right. She stated that the school had just officially been hit by a classic Connor family intervention, noting that the apple certainly does not ever fall very far from the genetic tree. She looked the teacher dead in the eye, telling her to buckle up, Buttercup, because the family was not backing down. Later that evening, Dan sat back in his comfortable chair in the living room, his face looking much more relaxed. Harris walked into the room, asking him how his shoulder was currently feeling. Dan let out a long breath. admitting that the sharp physical pain had ultimately returned after the gummies wore off. He sighed, stating that he might finally have to face the harsh reality that at his advanced age, certain physical pains simply never truly go away. Harris looked at him sympathetically, remarking that it was a bit sad that he was only just now realizing that he was an old man. Dan nodded thoughtfully, explaining his internal perspective. He revealed that when he first wakes up in the morning, his mind still entirely believes that he is the exact same young, athletic guy playing football back in high school. It is only when he actively attempts to physically roll out of bed that reality sets in, a process that usually involves a great deal of physical rocking and loud screaming until he can finally generate enough physical momentum to stand upright on his own 2 feet. Harris leaned against the wall, noting that it was a real shame because it sounded like the high-quality cannabis had genuinely worked to alleviate his severe pain. She suggested that he could easily bypass the expensive dispensaries by simply selecting a specific medicinal strain that was not too overwhelming and growing the plants himself at home. She joked that since he already owned a vintage waterbed, setting up a secret indoor hydroponic growth operation was merely the next logical step in his lifestyle. She calculated that he would save at least $40 every single week. Dan considered the financial savings. His interest piqued. Harris explained that he could easily throw the plants inside his master bedroom closet, promising that she would gladly show him exactly how to set up the specialized lighting equipment. Dan smiled dryly, sarcastically remarking that the plans sounded fantastic. He joked that he could easily move all of his formal evening tuxedos and his expensive, luxury cashmere driving coats out of the closet and store them inside the washing machine currently sitting in the driveway instead. He then chuckled, agreeing that they should absolutely go ahead and do it. Harris smiled, asking him if he was truly ready to grow illegal substances with his old grandfather. Dan put on a fake, exaggerated country accent, joking that such an activity sounded absolutely swell, Grandpa. In the kitchen, Becky was pouring a glass of juice as Beverly Rose walked in. Becky handed her a treat, instructing her to go ahead and eat it quickly in the kitchen. She playfully warned her daughter not to let her grandfather see it. Otherwise, the legendary clogged artery monster would surely come and snatch him away in the dead of night. Beverly Rose giggled, taking the treat and walking away. Darlene walked into the kitchen, noticing the exchange. She pointed out that Becky was giving the child a large ice cream cone right before a scheduled dinner. She asked if her sister had experienced a bad day. Becky let out a heavy sigh, admitting that her day had been absolutely horrible. She confessed that she had just discovered that Darlene was actually entirely right about something, which was why she was currently putting down her phone and swallowing her pride. She looked at her sister, admitting that Darlene had made a valid point about independence, and Becky had foolishly refused to listen. She explained that she had been so incredibly anxious to please the authority figures at the school that she had inadvertently made Beverly Rose terrified to speak up or show her true intelligence. Darlene looked surprised by the rare admission. She softened her stance, telling Becky that she did not have to formally apologize to her. Becky quickly clarified, lifting her chin, stating that she was absolutely not apologizing to her. She emphasized that she was merely stating the objective fact that Darlene happened to be right on this specific occasion. Jackie walked into the room, grabbing a snack from the counter. She chimed in, stating that what she believed both sisters had successfully learned from this entire dramatic ordeal was that Beverly Rose should ultimately grow up to be neither exactly like Becky nor exactly like Darlene. She argued that the little girl would eventually figure out exactly who she was supposed to be on her own terms. Harris walked past them, gesturing to herself, confidently asserting that the girl would obviously grow up to be exactly like her. Darlene turned to look at Harris, offering a dry, brutal critique of her appearance. She remarked that if a person were to completely strip away all of the thick layers of deep-seated self-loathing and the intense, chilling psychological crazy that defined Harris' personality, they would be left with a regular flannel shirt and a generic haircut that ultimately belonged on a historical sculpture located in the middle of New Mexico. Harris looked offended, shouting out a loud objection. Suddenly, Beverly Rose bounded back into the living room, holding a small, rectangular frozen treat. She walked directly up to Dawn's chair, announcing that she had brought her grandpa a delicious ice cream sandwich. She smiled mischievously, stating that she explicitly wanted to watch the legendary clogged artery monster come and get him right now. Dan took the ice cream, chuckling warmly. He then paused, looking toward the kitchen, demanding to know where on earth the child had heard that specific phrase. He loudly questioned if Becky, Jackie, and Darlene were currently planning something sinister behind his back. He joked that if the three women were actively hoping to see the term life insurance monster arrive to collect a payout, they would be severely disappointed to learn that he had successfully transformed that entity into a massive mortgage payment monster and a costly new main sewer line replacement monster instead. Dan then turned his attention back to his granddaughter, putting on a playful, growling voice. He declared that he himself was a completely new kind of monster. He snatched the ice cream sandwich, telling Beverly Rose that she was far too sweet, roaring that he was going to eat her up next. The living room filled with bright, genuine laughter as Dan pulled his granddaughter into a warm hug, the lingering tension of the past few days completely melting away in the warmth of the family home. The heavy, sweet aroma of melting butter and maple syrup filled the morning air, drifting quietly from the kitchen into the narrow hallway. It was a pleasant change for the household, and the moment Jackie stepped through the doorway, she could not help but open her eyes wide with surprise. She remarked aloud that for once she had walked into the room and found that something smelled genuinely delicious. Dan stood by the hot stove, his large frame hunched slightly as he carefully flipped a thick, bubbling pancake inside a heavy iron skillet. He smiled softly, his voice full of warmth as he explained that today was a monumental day because it was Beverly Rose's very first day of kindergarten. He wanted to ensure she felt incredibly special, so he had decided to prepare a grand breakfast consisting of sweet Captain Crunch pancakes, piled high with fluffy whipped cream and bright red strawberries on top. Becky walked into the kitchen, leaning against the counter with a knowing smile. She laughed softly, teasing him that it was a truly fantastic idea to get a 5-year-old child completely jacked up on pure sugar first thing in the morning, only to immediately hand her off to her new teacher a mere hour later. She began rummaging through the frozen compartments of the refrigerator, searching for the ingredients. When she could not find what she was looking for, she turned around, asking where the pack of frozen strawberries had gone. Dan shifted his weight uncomfortably, a look of mild guilt crossing his face as he rubbed his right shoulder. He admitted that he had been using the frozen strawberry pack as a cold pack in bed the previous night to soothe his incredibly sore shoulder joints. Becky let out a long sigh, shaking her head. She pointed out that if he desperately needed a cold pack for his aches, he should have used the bag of frozen broccoli instead. She joked that soothing an injured muscle was the absolute only reason they ever bought broccoli in the first place, since no one in the house actually enjoyed eating it. Dan wrinkled his nose in disgust, muttering that he simply did not like having green broccoli anywhere near his mouth, even if it was sealed inside a plastic bag. However, he conceded that her point was fair. He turned his attention back to the stove, trying to ignore the persistent, dull ache radiating down his arm. Darlene entered the room next, holding a small, flat object wrapped in a neat package. She announced to the family that the big day had finally arrived, and that she had brought a little present for Beverly Rose to celebrate her milestone. Becky leaned over to catch a glimpse, gasping dramatically when she realized what lay beneath the wrapping. She asked in disbelief if Darlene was seriously giving a kindergarten student an old, worn-out plastic pencil case. Darlene nodded proudly, defending her choice. She explained that it was her very own vintage pencil case from her own childhood school days. She pointed toward the faded, scratched lettering on the side, which clearly displayed the cynical motto to trust no one. To Darlene, it was the most practical, realistic piece of advice a young child could receive before entering the public school system. Becky rolled her eyes, moving past her sister to pour a fresh cup of coffee. As she did, a strong wave of floral perfume followed her every movement. Darlene sniffed the air sharply, coughing slightly. She asked Becky if she was actively looking to hit on the kindergarten teacher, because the overwhelming scent of her cheap car wash perfume practically announced to the world that someone should buy her a sandwich in exchange for her absolute devotion. Becky lifted her chin defensively, smoothing down her outfit. She replied that she merely wanted to make an exceptional first impression on the gentleman. She added with a sharp grin that if the teacher happened to be independently wealthy, entirely single, and only took the teaching job to ease his immense social guilt about his family money, that would simply be an added bonus for her. Darlene smirked, taking a seat at the table. She pointed out that Becky was clearly attempting to suck up to authority before the first school bell had even rung. She questioned whether Becky realized what kind of submissive message that sent to her young daughter. Becky scoffed, asserting that there was absolutely nothing wrong with trying to be the teacher's pet. In her view of the world, a person had to actively work the system from the inside if they ever wanted to achieve real success. Darlene snorted into her coffee cup, asking if that specific philosophy was the reason Becky had always dressed exactly like her own middle school teachers when she was a little kid. Becky turned around sharply, her face flushing slightly. She stated that first of all, she looked absolutely fantastic in knit separates during those years. Furthermore, she argued that her calculated strategy had worked perfectly. Her old teacher had grown to love her so intensely that Becky had practically doubled her personal wardrobe by inheriting old clothes after the poor teacher's husband left her, a tragic event that caused the lonely woman to turn to sweet pie as her sole source of emotional comfort. Before the argument between the sisters could escalate any further, Jackie looked toward the hallway, wondering aloud when Beverly Rose would finally come upstairs to the kitchen. She explained that she was there with her camera ready, fully prepared to document every single moment of the big day for posterity. Darlene softened slightly, admitting that the gesture was surprisingly sweet of her. Jackie nodded, a faraway, melancholy look entering her eyes. She explained that she genuinely wanted the little girl to have beautiful, supportive memories of her first day of school, which was something Jackie herself had been completely denied. She recalled how her own mother had bluntly told her that she was far too plain looking to ever be liked naturally by her peers. Her mother had instructed her to wear a short skirt, climb directly to the absolute top of the school jungle gym, and ensure that she would at least be popular with all the young boys standing at the bottom looking up. The kitchen fell into a brief, stunned silence. Becky blinked, processing the story, and remarked that it sounded like an incredibly warped, dysfunctional childhood memory. Jackie continued without missing a beat, adding that when the jungle gym strategy failed to yield results, her mother had made sure to stuff a thick wad of dollar bills into her pocket. She was instructed to pass the money out to the boys just so they would be bribed into talking to her at recess. Darlene analyzed the scenario with her usual dry, clinical tone. She remarked that the entire situation sounded like the exact psychological opposite of being a stripper, given that Jackie was showing her underwear and paying the audience instead of taking their money. Jackie snapped her fingers, pointing directly at Darlene in total agreement, confirming that her sister had summarized the family tragedy perfectly. Meanwhile, Becky was busy hovering over a small plastic lunchbox on the counter. She announced that she was placing a heartfelt, handwritten note inside Beverly Rose's lunch. She held up a small sandwich that she had carefully sliced into the shape of a perfect heart, asking the room if her accompanying message was perhaps a bit too sentimental. She read the note aloud, which stated that when Beverly Rose ate the sandwich, her mother's heart would literally be inside her tummy all day long. Darlene made a gagging sound at the sentimentality, but Becky chose to ignore her, turning her attention to her daughter, who had just entered the room. Becky explained that she knew this morning would be a deeply emotional, overwhelming experience for everyone, which was why she had entirely cleared her work schedule for the day. She wanted to ride along to the school to offer maximum emotional support. Darlene narrowed her eyes, immediately seeing through the offer. She accused Becky of simply trying to co-opt her special parenting moment for herself. Darlene firmly stated that she was entirely prepared for the day and did not need any sisterly interference. Suddenly, Beverly Rose bounded into the center of the room, wearing a bright new backpack that looked slightly too large for her small frame. Darlene looked at her daughter, and a wave of sudden, raw maternal panic washed over her face. She realized with a jolt that the moment of separation was actually happening. She looked at her tiny child, gasping that she would not see her again until noon. The reality of the situation hit her hard, and she admitted that she knew this emotional breakdown would happen. Turning to Becky with a desperate, sudden shift in attitude, Darlene asked if the offer to ride along to the school was still open. Becky smiled triumphantly, making a cheerful, repetitive noise as she grabbed her car keys, happy to be needed. Back at the kitchen table, Harris walked in, watching Dan struggle to lift the heavy iron skillet with his right hand. She sighed deeply, pointing out that large corporations sold pre-made tomato ketchup in actual grocery stores, meaning he did not have to slave away making his own condiments from scratch. Dan glared up at his granddaughter, his knuckles turning white around the handle of the skillet. He warned her not to make fun of a grown man holding a heavy piece of cast-iron cookware. He muttered that he was almost old enough to commit a serious crime and old enough not to care about serving the prison time for it. Harris shrugged nonchalantly, pouring herself a glass of juice. She pointed out the logistical flaw in his threat, noting that he would have to attack her with his left hand, which she highly doubted he could manage given his current physical limitations. She noted that his bursitis was clearly winning the battle against his joints. Dan stubborned his jaw, insisting that he would be perfectly fine. Harris smirked, stating that a regular, unmoving tomato had just clearly beaten him in a physical fight, which was a sad state of affairs for an old man. Jackie raised her hands, stepping forward with an enthusiastic smile. She announced that she might goi wyko the jup on I void sai vidao kinnian kwamen. She claimed that she had recently undergone some extensive training in the ancient art of Reiki, and several people in her spiritual circle had mentioned that she possessed genuine, latent healing powers. Dan looked at her suspiciously, shifting back in his chair. He immediately set a firm boundary, stating that she was absolutely not allowed to touch him under any circumstances. Jackie reassured him, waving her hands in gentle, circular motions through the air. She explained that her hands would merely hover over the specific area where it hurt. She would then use her natural internal energy to identify and remove the spiritual blockage, allowing his body to undergo a natural healing process without any physical contact whatsoever. Dan hesitated, his shoulder throbbing painfully, then leaned back, reiterating that there must be absolutely no touching involved. Jackie nodded solemnly, instructing him to close his eyes, clear his mind, and try his absolute best to relax. Once Dan complied, letting out a heavy breath, Jackie began to move her hands rapidly above his shoulder, generating a bizarre, trembling motion while making a loud, rhythmic vibrating sound with her mouth. Dan opened one eye, watching her bizarre display, and immediately broke into a fit of laughter. He told her that her strange performance was doing absolutely nothing for his physical ailment. Jackie stopped, frowning at his lack of faith. She urged him to allow the energy in, calling him by his name, Dan. She warned that his deep-seated cynicism was the ultimate barrier to true health and longevity. She decided that she would simply have to extend the frequency of her spiritual energy and dig a little bit deeper into his aura. Dan looked at her warily, asking one final time to ensure she would not touch him. Jackie called him a big baby, reaffirming that she had no intention of making physical contact. At that exact moment, Harris walked back into the center of the room, stopping dead in her tracks. She stared at the older adults, asking what on earth the hai nu woi la lung nai dang lam o jua fong kok. Jackie dropped her hands. Jai tik rang on qua ko, I dang fi chiu dung su, dao don tu ben vim, bao hot dike neum trong o vi. Va ko chi dang ko gang chua lan cho ong bang fuang fap, nong luong tu nien. Harris tho dai, lak dao truok the he di truok. Ko noi rang ko kong the hu noi tai sa and hung nuoi thwak the he bung no tray, so sin li siu tik ve te tren kong trung nu and hung ko lap di. Trong kai ho hon ton ko the su dung mot chut, tau mok yt de jai, quiet tried to kak, been to the chat kwamen. Ko Thursday nen rang ban then ko van, thuong dung no moi sang to the long kak, ko, truok kai tap the duk. Sao du. Ko the neen thua, nen rang min thuong bo quab yuk tap the duk tuk ti nai sao du. Chan dan hong geo de zem kak video tren mang xa hoi vi, kan in hung nuoi kok vio tin by na. In hung ko, van cam thay hon ton tuet void to the now di nua. Jackie nai lap tuc fan doi. Twin bo rang dan kong kin them bat ky loi chat kitch tik hey thwak, now do a veo ko the min nua. Ko lap, luan rang and hung mok mao jia nua. Mong man qua ong von di de ko long, van chien mao mot catch ben thuong roy. Dan dap man te suong bon. Bao ho hei cham dut nai in hung taro, udua lim tucv, tuoi jia kwa min. Ong thua, nin rang min tung dung mot chut tau mok hoi kon hok trung hok mua kai by chan thuong kai choi bong bao duk, in hung ong de hon ton quain bang no di thionam thing. Harris tua lung veo que bep. Chi ra rang in hung ge hok trung hok qua ong de la chien qua, ku xe zoi. Ko lu wai rang ge ne, ong wong ru nu ka wong nuok, and in hung mon and yu dao mo ko hai cho suc ko. Vatuk su kong nin nim them bat ky lo I rac tai doc hai now veo by rac the chat ma ong goi la ko the min nua. Ko jai tik rang gan sung engip tau mak hien di da hon ton kok xa voi and hung Thursday, bat hop fap, doi tre qua ong. Ko bao ong ko the byuk tang veo mot qua hung hop fap, va mua and hung lo I duak and tok kin then. Chat luong chow, ko the nam trung veo vung vi by dao qua ong. Ko tau bao de zut tat ca kung din, qua hung nai lap tuc. Dan sui givi lua chan nai mot luke, bo vi ong lai noi len dao don. Koi kung ong gat dao, dong y tu kien chien di. Harris mim koi, thong bao rang ko chik chan sed kung ho. Ko jai tik rang ho rakin mot nuoi, hu beat ve kuok song, duong fo hien di nu koda, noi dungon tu vanan ho trong hon ton, injo non truok mat nuoi kok. Dan mim koi ko kok, ninzet rang mot nuoi dan duong ti tot day. In hung ong ka chuk rang, nan vat noi, ting new Snoop Dogg, hien dang qua ban ron lambon, Kim Kung Voi Martha Stewart de ko the hotiaro ho. Harris lam ro rang ko dang, noi v chin min. Chu kong phi mot rapper noi tiang. Ko nin ong noi min. Dua rang ong tam chi con chua Thursday motin gum now ma de hon ton kong the theo kip mot kuok taro. Chien don john, tang then roy. Trong kai du, tai truong tu hok dia fuang. Lop hok ruk our own gap tran and hung cheek bon nova and hung tam ap fitch de mausak. Jiao vien mao jiao dung truok lop. Cam tren te mot hin cat bang bi, kung lon mao zan. Ko noi bang mot jong tuoi vui, quang jiu. Hoisie lop gom and hung du a tre no qua ko zem ko ai nra hin hok cu the ma ko dang cam tren te la gi kong. Beverly Rose Gio Chow Te Lin Kong Trong. Het Lon Ka Tra Loi Rang Du La Mot Hin Tam Giak Truok Kai Bat, KY Du A Tre Now Kok Kip Chop Mat. Jiao Vien Mim Koi Kien Nan. Cam on Beverly Rose V Ka Tra Loi. Sao Du, Ko Gio Hin Kat Bang Bia Kung Thursday Hai Len, Ukasie Lop Zak Din Hin Teep Theo. Truok Kai and Hung Du A Tre Kok Kip Sui Gi. Beverly Rose Lai Lon Tiang, Twin Bo Rang, Du La Mot Hin Chunat. Becky Ngoi Tren Mot Cheek, Gi No Dan Cho Nuoi Lano Phia Sao Lop Hok. Rang Aro Voinim Tu How Tot Du. Ko Ti Tam Ka To Voi Fu Huin Goi Nai Ben Kan. Ko Kawang Rang Kongai Ko Hon Ton La Ban Sa Kwame. Ko Noi Dua Rang Kong Ai Duokta and Hung Vet Nuok, Sot Mi Y Bam Vin Vien Tren, Ao Kwa Kobi Dan Lua. Boiv ban then Becky Kung Tung Nam Trong Hoi Hok Sin Dan, Du Bia Nam Lin Teep Trong Sut and Hung Gay Di Hok Kwamin. Darlene, Ngoi Nai Ben Kan Becky. Lam Bam, Trong Ming Rang Becky Kung La Mot Kukong, Dat Duok Ky Vong Lon Trong Kuok Doi. Jiao Vien Kan Jong. Nain Hang Hung Ve Phia Lop Hok. Ko Noi Rang Ko Tuk Su. Tuk Su Hai Vong Rang Ho Ko the Ne Ka Tra Loi Tu Mot. So du a tre kok trong fong veo gamai. Sao du, ko vio te. Thong bao rang de chin tuk den gio don dp trong gay. Kai and hung du a tre bat dao Thursday don kak hoi du choi. Jiao vien byuk vi he phia sao fong. Lich su hoi zem ko the noi. Chuyen voi mi qua Beverly Rose mot lat kong. Becky dung de voi nu koi tu tin tren kuan mat. Ko don truok kuok tiaro chuyen. Twin Bo Rang Koda Beat Chin Zak Jiao Vien Din Noigi. Ko Kawang Rang Beverly Rose Tuk Su Ko V Nup Dang Hon Ton AP Dao Kak Bangkok. And Hung Ko Tran and Jiao Vien Rang Jia Din Ko Kong Zem, Truong Mao Jiao La Mot Kuok, Kan Tran Ton Nan. Jiao Vien No Mot Nu Koi Lich Su and Hung Ko Fan Guangao. Dong Y Rang Ko Bro Rong Rat Thong Min. Tinin. Kokan then Noi them rang Beverly Rose Kung Cuc, Ky Tik Len Tiang. Ko la hoi quan ao doi voi mot moi truong lop hok mang tin hop tok. Ko jai tik rang jai don din hin nai duok cho la koang doi john and ton de tat sie, and hung dua tre, kong chi hok chuang trin ma con ko duok long tu trong ka, nikan thiet. Ko chi ra rang Beverly Rose hien tai kong cho bat ky dua tre now kok ko, mot ko hoi duwei not the tam jia hok, zay dung su tu tin. Becky nai lap tuc bao ve con gai min. Lap wan rang Beverly Rose chi cam, thay hon ton tu, du noi, Chuyen v Jiao Vien, de Ton Sung, Trong v Tao Ra, Mot Moitrong Hok Tap, Tuet Voivon Ton Nuve. Komim Quoyam AP, Noi Voi Jiao Vien, Rang Han 6 Qua Ko Bi Tuk, Chat La Mot Min Chung Aro Rong, Cho Ky Nong Jong Dazit Sa Qua Ko. Neen, Darlene Buk Lin Ben Kan Ho, Jia Vio Go Qua. Kolon Tiang Hoi Zem Ai Dang O Du, Roy Tu Tra Loi Tiaro, Dua Quam Min Bang Catch Twin Bo Rang, Du Chin La Jiao Vien Qua Nam. Jiao Vien Tho Dai. Su Kien, Nin Qua Ko Dang Kan Dan. Ko Thong Bao Voi Becky Rang Du Tin Trang Tam Jia Qua Muc Lin Tuc. Ko De Kong Con Catch Now Kok Nagwai Vik Buk Phi Chien Chi Kep, Quan Ao Bang Go Ka, Nin Qua Beverly Rose Tu Fan Mao, Zen La Ke Beauty, Su Ton Sung Trin Bang Theo Doi Han 6 Suang, Fan Mao Vang Beauty Su Kan Bao. Ko Nin Becky Dayan Y. Noi Rang Vik Mot Du A Tre Ko The Zoe, Chuyen Tin The Han 6 Qua Min He Kong Hon Ton Fu Thuok Veo No Luke, Qua Fu Hueno Na. Becky Nin Veo Budu, Su Tu Tin Qua Ko Jiam Sut Doi Chut. Ko and Han Shong Lei Lai Ben Tin. Cam Don Voi Jiao Vien Rang Ko Dang Nin Veo Mot Fu Huyen Tan Tai. Nuoi Hon Ton Tuet Voi Trong Vik Zoe, Chuyen Moi Thursday Trong Kuok Song. Nu Mot Loi Chow Tam Beat. Becky Mim Quoing Gotten Gayo. Kin Goi Jiao Vien Bang Catch Noi Rang Ko Hon Ton Tik, Bo Trang Fuk Det Kim Qua Ko I. Koi Ge Ham Du, Becky Va Beverly Rose Buk Veona. Becky Kui Suang Gang Tam Mat Qua Con Gai Min. Noi Voi Kobe Rang Ko Tu Halvi, Kobe Nu The Now V De Ko, Mot Gay Dao Tan, D Hok Ton Sung Nu Ve. Beverly Rose Rang Aro. Tu Hao Twin Bo Rang Ko Bida, Tra Loi Ton Song Moi Ka Hoi Ma Jiao Vien Datare. Becky Cham Rai Gat Dao, Chian Jong Sang Mot, Tin So Nain Hang, Mang Tin Hung Dan Han. Ko Jai Tik Rang Vik Tra Loi Kat Ka Hoi Chin La Jiu Ho Kan Tao Wan. Ko Noi Voi Con Gai Rang Nai Ca Kai Kobi Ko Beat Moi Ka Tra Loi Tren The Gioi. Tvik Louis Lai Mot Buk Va Cho and Hung Dua Tre Kok Mot Ko Hoit Song Bang, De Noi Kung La Jutat. Beverly Rose Naomai, Jai Tik Rang and Hung Dua Tre Kok, Mat Quan Yu Thoi John De Gia Ka Tra Loi, Va Kai Chung Noi. Chung Hao Nu Luan Lam Sai Hon Ton. Becky No Nu Koi Nain Hang, De Cam Thong. Ko Jai Tik Rang Vik Moi Nuoi Thin Thoang Mak Sai Lam La Ju Hon Ton Ben Thuong. Lu Wai Rang and Hung Dua Tre Kok Kong Han De Tu Quiet Din Duok Vik, Chung Kong Thong Min Bang, Beverly Rose. Beverly Rose Gat Dao Niam Tuc. Jai Tik Rang Kobi Tuk Su De Noi Voi and Hung Dua Tre Kok Du Chin Zak, Du De Chung Kong Cam Thay Toi Tavi, Su Kim Thong Min Kwa Min. Becky Nan Mat Mot Chut, Truok Loi Teet Lo Nai. Ko Jai Tik Rang Nu, Beverly Rose Kong De and Hung Dua Tre Kok Tra Loi Ka Hoi. Chi Kep Quan Ao Bang Go Qua Ko Bse Mai by Mak Ket, O Fan Mao Van Kan Bao. Vaho Chik Chan Kong Yuan Judu. Ko Noi Voi Con Gai Rang Ko Bi La Mot Ko Con Gai Kep Quan Ao Maozen La Ke. Va Becky La Mot Nuti, Mi Kep Quan Ao Maozen La Ke. Beverly Rose Min Quang Gat Dao, Dong Yse Ko Gang Han. Becky Dung Day, Buong Mot Tiang Tho Dai. Lam Bam Rang Ko Phi Quay Lai Quan Lynoi Dung Trong Hop Com Trua Qua Tre Con. Thursday Ma Ko Koi La Jai, Thuong Lon Not Ma Kuok Song Kep Quan Ao Mao Zan La Ke Koi Kung Mang Lai Cho Mot Nuoi Truong Ton. Darlene Buk Veo Fong. Tin Kone Duok Kuok Tiaro Chien. Ko Koi Mim Voi Chi Gai Min. Dua Rang Becky, So Hu Sie Vok Dong Gwen Ru Va My Talk Vang. Mot Suket Hop Aro Rong. Keen Ko, I Cam Thay Tu Man Ben Trong. Sao Du, Ko De Ma Hoi Becky Zem Ban and Ko I Ko Tung, Nin Duok Mot Cheek, Kep Quan Ao Mao Vang Now Trong Suthoi Tho O Kwam In Kong. Becky Koi Kai, Shua Te Shua Di. Ko Thua, Nin Rang Min Chi Luk Qua Vong Kan Bao Mao Vang Voi Tok Duan Sang Tren Con, Duong Tien Toi Fan, Mao, Du Vin Vien Dang, so qua bang theo doi haunt 6. Darlene nin chao gai min. Hoi Beverly Rose zem vik, nin duok cheek, kep kwana malvang ge ham ne ko, keen kobi ban long nu kong. Beverly Rosen hun vi, thua nin rang kobi don la ko. In hung kobi nin man rang min chi don john la tik beat, tat se, kak ka, tra loi chin zak. Darlene kui suong ben kan chao gai. Duo ra mot loi kuyen hon ton kok. Ko bao kobi rang nu kobi tik beat kak ka tra loi, kobi hey teep tuc tra loi. Ko noi, them rang nu ko ai bao kobi dung to ra thong min nua. Kobi chicken het to ka tra loi qua min han nua. Konin kobi mot catch niam tuc. Twin bo rang mak du ko yumi qua Becky nu chi guy. In hung ton bo he thong kep quan ao trong jiao duk, kong gi kok, han lai mo te lua bip, tom ly kong lo. Ko hoi Beverly Rose zem kobi ko cam thay min tuk suda lam ju gi si trevi, imat dao duk, ge hamne kong. Beverly Rose lak dao bao kong. In hung kobi lu y rang kai kobi dua ra quan yu ka tra loi dong. Jiao vien de tu choi cho kobi ko hoi din cheek exo. Jai, thuong the muon qua lop hok. Darlene vo vi kobi, bao kobi rang fan thuong lon not trong kuok doi lak hien tuk inoi, tai rang kobi hon ton tuet voi. Trong kai and hung dua tray, Thursday dong kok, chi la and hung ku that by bam sin. Sao du, ko cui nu oi suong. Ti tam hoi zim, Beverly Rose ko muon tam gia mot kuok hop niam tuc qua nu oi lon voi mot nam in hung nu oi kep quan ao maus and la ke tuk, su tam, hai va fuk tung kong. Dot neen, mot tiang rac lon vang len, tu cheek mai tin zak, te qua Darlene trin, que bep. Ko ha hok mom. Kin hai nra rang micro qua min tuk ra chua, he duok tat trong kuok hop lam vik, tu xa quat song tai. Trong kai du, o ben kia ti tran, dan, Jackie va Harris buk quakin qua kin qua hong tau mok hop fap tai dia fuang. Kong John ben trong bong long, nguyen so va ruk aro on sang. Trong jong mot qua hong doi trang chow cap, han lai mot noi bon thwa kio siu. Dan nin quan kan fong sach se kong ti vet, doi mat mo today kin gak. Ong nin zet rang noi nai trong jong nu mot, su ket hop, ky la jua mot dine veen Hollywood nu Seth Rogen vi mot na, sin zup bon kio, hu ka nu Willy Wonka bang catch now do de tau nin mot ko, so bon lo. Jackie nin quan voi mot chut hai nim yu buon. Thua nin rang ko thay tin chat don engip qua ko, so hien di nai ko fan hoi dang buon. Ko nui teek no lai rang ko mot, soon gotten gao kong the fu nan. Mang fong catch siu, ky kai mua, in hung Thursday bat hop fap, 2 mot, nin vadimo, trong mot song vien song song. Mot nin vien tre trong. Lich lam dung sao quay mim koi chien engip. Hoi sie nam zem on ko the jup gi, cho ho homne kong. Harris buk len fia truok, gomot tra, huda lam, dio nuoi nin vien. Ko bao on chong fuk, vucu ben tin. Ko chi veo dan, luai rang mak duong noi ko trong ko vi jong mot, ong gia lu ku. Loi thoi. In hung that may man la ong ko di kong. Dan lum ko chow gai in hung quiet din noi chien voi nuoi, nen vien thay vi doi company ong jai tik rang min chi, kan mot Thursday gi, du tuk, su hu qua, cho con dao the chat du doi qua min. Jacking gat loi, lon tiang twin bo rang hokan mot Thursday gi, du de chua land noi dao sao sak. Mang tin hien sin kai fi song trong mot, the gioi hon ton bat song. Noi han tin nai dang by hui hoi vi bien doi kai, how vat song dan dang, dan mat di gwen con nuoi veo, te che du doc tai. Nu doi bon hong chop mat boi roy. Hoisem ho dang tim kim mot fuang thuok cho su loo chin tri ton ka. He ko lu chi li mot bon chan by thuang. Dan hang jong. Zak nin rang ho chik chan dang tim, kim lua chan cho bon chan. Ko ju kan dao nam hon ton o vi fi kwaong. Ong de cap, rang min tung dung mot chut, hoi kan hok trung hok de doi, fo voi kak chan thuang. Jackie how huk gat dao. Noi zen veo rang ca hai du tung tam gia veo thoi du. Tu goi min li mot cap, doi ingian gap kio siu. Ko koang voi nuoi nen vien tre, rang ho chik chan kong mua Thursday nai tu mot ko hong lon. Vio trung qua tap, Donjong knew the he tre udari gane. Ko king din rang ho da phi dung cam di den tin phia ben kia qua duong ray tau hoa chi da muas and fam, tu mot nuoi bon dao tren fo. Sao du. Ko thua nen rangon de ko da Thursday rat nu sin fam, thay the ko chua tin chat tu nin. In hung no duong nu hon ton kong jup, hgi, cho con dao vi du doi qua dan ca. Nudra bon hong dan jia than hintalon, vam vio qua dan. On sui gigat dao, noi rang vi dan la mot nuoi kata con. On ko the chu duok loi, hoa tau mok cuc man, chat luong chow. On voi te veo tu kin. Lara mot hop chua vajai tik rang lo icu the nai duok goi la ac mong. Luai rang no ko hem luong ton fan hot, tin cuc ky chow. Sao du, on chi veo luachan Thursday high, jai tik rang no duok beat din, pho bien voit si tin che mao nao. Mok ta du la mot lo icuc man ko the lam ti leet con dao trong kai, van cho fep nuoi dung choi mot tran quan vot. Dan lak dao. Twinbo rang ong kong quantum din vik choi the tau. Ong nin man rang min chi kan mot sin fam dam, bao rang ong hon ton kong con cam giak gi o vi nua. Nuoi bon hong mim koi, lara mot cheek lo Thursday ba. On thong bao rang lua chan cu the nai duok goi la, twa kong the cam, nin duok kuan mat min. Goi y rang no ko lu kung se mang lai ju, ky ju cho vi qua ong. Sao du. On hoi zim, dan muon tu Thursday sin fam duri dan kio deo he hoa trian thong. Harris lap tuc kan theep, how huck lua chan fwong on kion got. Nudra bon hong bam tong, so tien tren mai tin tien ky thuit so. Thong bao rang mon hong se ko jia chin, zak la bon muoi du la. Jackie ha hok mom. Dua hai te len de cui, dao kin gak truok muc jia. Kolon tiang hoi nudoit song, nen zem fan con lai qua hong tun ko duok kat juo dao. Tu hoi lu ho ko ju mot cheek, thungo lon o fia sao de kok hong ko the don john la tu dong goi mot, vi min kio ri tien voi jia, vi su he kong. Nuoi bon hong tho dai kien nan. Thong bao voi ko rang ko, so hien dai nai kong fi la mot qua hong kio. Baho chik chong kong fi dang, o dao koni trong, and hung nam mot gin chin tram ba muoi. Darlene tu phia sao qua hung buklin kwe. Koda tin kone duok ton bo kuok tiaro, chuyen dang, zahovu roy. Konin nuoin and veen tre. Goyon la ko engian gap. Vatu tin twin bo rang ban then koda truck teep, hui hoai nu ko hoi song bio, bo bang vik, su, dung chat kitch, tik nong han nu so voi, and hung gi chong tre ko the hai vong tre, quatrong suk kuok doimin. Harris koi lon. Chi veo di qua min. Twinbo rang Darlene chikchan, dang hon ton mat, try nai luk nai. Tro line goi na veo koi bui chu ham du. Darlene dung trong bep kai Becky va Beverly Rose byuk qua qua. Darlene nin suong chow gai min. Nain hang hung dan Beverly Rose di tang suong na dui de ruate. Huarang ko se chuan by mot mon and na gon lan, cho ko bi trong jie lat. Kai ko bi de roy koi fong. Darlene quay sang chi gai min. Ve mat niam gi. Twinbo rang ho tuk, sukan fi noi chien. Becky tho dai, chin lai de deo tu a zak. Noi rang ko hien dang o juage lam vik, tu xa qua min. Konin veo dien tho I, dong y voi mot dong en gip ten la, and tren tin, nen sung vik truok kai bo thiet by veo tu a va quay lai doi mat voi Darlene. Darlene koen te, jai tik rang kai ko din don Beverly Rose tu truong. Jiao vien de kio ko sang mot binda bao, sao rang ko bi, nien tiaron in hung hang gap doi, so voi ge ham truok. Becky nai lap tuc bao ve con gai min. Hoisem jiao vien ko siu the dung, tu hung hang he tukare, ko I muon noi la quiet don. Nin man rang ko mot su kok beat talon, aro ret jua high net tin catch do. Darlene jai tik rang truok kai ko su kan theep. Beverly Rose chi don John la tra loitat ca kak ka hoi trong lop. Tinin, sao by jiao huan qua Becky v, and hung chi kep quan ao. Kobe de chi and sang chu dong goi kak ban kok trong fong la hon ton guin josi. Darlene noi them rang kai jiao vien koi kung de doa se chi and kep quan ao qua Kobe sang fan mao du vin vien. Beverly Rose de thatch tuk nin tang veo mat nuoi dai dien, cho chin guin va, twinbo rang ton bo. he thong li mot turalua bip hon ton. Becky mim koi tu hao, ninzet rang mot loy, twin bo nu ve la cuc, ky nai ben doi voy mot, du a tre nam tuoi. Lap, one rang Darlene nin tu how vi chow gai min. Darlene lum ko. Teet lo rang Beverly Rose de tang than thua, nan chin Becky la nuoi, bao ko bi han dong nu ve. Ko jai tik rang ko bi de hoi ko tai sa min li gap rac roi vi thong min. Va Darlene shi noi voi ko, bi he luan la chin min. Ko byuk toi Becky de kan thiep veo chien nai. Twinbo rang tin hung, nai hon ton kong fi la vik, qua ko va ko nun dung nagwai kuak hon ton. Becky dap tra. Lap one rang Beverly Rose tuet doi kong bao geo fi che jiao sang noi tai tu nin qua min chita lam cho nuoi kok, kam thay thoi mai. Ko byuk toi Darlene de gia vo ngoc, and gek suk kuok doi min chita, and hung nuoi ngao nin sung quan yu tik ko. Darlene koi kai, lam aro rang ko kong gia vo, endoc and gek. Dung han la ko tu kon vik, ko chien loak chow. Ko lap, one rang and hung ku byong bin. Hey doi dao no tuoi. In hung katan song trong vik xa lan moi nuoi sung quan se kong duok trong dung trong, he thong trong hok hey the gioi tuk. Ko chi ra rang na trong gon de bonin Becky lam nuoi hung dan jiao thong. Du la bang chung cho 6 the quako. Becky and han chong sua lai. Luai rang ko duok fan song veo con duong hon ton noi him not. Con duong nai tin ko lai nam onoi xa. Not so voi toa, not trong hok tuk ti. Darlene mim koi dayan y. Hoi Becky zem ko bao geo dung li de tu hoi tai sa ban jiam, hu na trong chua tung tuk, su, du a cho ko mot cheek ao koak, bao ho fan quang ruk, aro nao kong. Becky mai. Lam bam rang kak quan chuk na trong de noi aro voi ko rang ho chi don john lada head ao koak. Ko and han chong chien hung kuok tiaro chien. Kangdon rang vq ka Beverly Rose kim che kong tra loi kak ka hoi la sai tre v mat dao duk. Darlene fan bac rang ju du kong he sai chut now. Ko lap, luan rang ko bi rak and fi hok, catch ho a nap, ton song voi and hung nuoi bin thuong trong the gioi tuk. Becky thatch tuk ko. Hoizem v ko a nap tuk ra ko fi chi ko nia la hok, catch beat 6 tri fuk tung, qua min nu mot nuoi, fu nu he kong. Ko twinbo rang ko kong the tin duok Darlene li tu choi bao vi, chin nuoi ruat thit qua min. Ko nak no Darlene rang mak du nuoi mi qua ko qua ho chik chan ko and hung van de ka, nin qua riang min. In hung ba se hon ton tien tang din goi trong, du va xe, tok, dao, qua jiao vin ra. Koi, vita bao vi kak con. Darlene gat dao, thua, nin rang mak du mi qua ho se lam chin zak du du. In hung ket qua lan hung du a tre li taro, ton in hung du a tre, ky quack voi mot nuoi mi aro rong la dien aro, trong mat moi nuoi. Ko hoi Becky zem ko tuk su tik tre nium, ju du kai con li mot, du a tre nu the now. Becky jo jong, cui down in suong. Ko Thursday nin rang mak du ko tung rat muon chue song mot, sai ho salvatron di kai mi ho dang het veo mat kak, quan chuk na truong. In hung su bao vi man li, du koi kung lai keen ko kam thay vio kung duok bao viva tu tin han tu bin trong. Du nai koi kung de bien ko ton mot nuoi, truong ton man mi han yu. Ko tuk juk Darlene he sui gi sao sak vivik, ko muon day, Beverly Rose tiaro. Ton loi nuoi see you the now. Darlene though die. Noi rang Becky aro rong muon ko bi bot jong Darlene va jong Becky han. Duma Darlene koi la ju tuet doi koi kung kom yuan cho con gai min. Becky to ra by suck fam. Hoizem Darlene ko tuk su tin rang tot han la ko bi nin tiaro nin jong ko kong. Ko chi ra rang Darlene tung vio kung nong long yuan lam hai long wan nu oi thoi tre din, musi ko de hon ton tu, bon in jiao duk dai hok, qua min va bo roi jia din chi de chuyen din Minnesota, kung voi mot chong, tre ten la mark. Darlene kung lai, Huan mat toi sam di. Ko twin bo rang vi Becky aro rong kong con ju gi mang tin ze dung de noi voi ko nua. Ko kan fi bien koi mat ko nai lap tuc. Becky quay nuoi byuk di. Nem li mot